Good evening and welcome to Horror Time. This is another episode of Scary Stories to fall asleep to. Before we get into tonight's episode, remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. And now, without further ado, tonight's story. My Memory by WiseRun1571 from Reddit/True Scary Stories. When I was younger, I lived in a small house. One afternoon, my sister, younger brother, and I were home alone while our parents were at work, and our other siblings hadn't returned yet. It was daytime, and I was hanging out in my sister's room. She was on the computer, and I was drawing. This was back when dial-up internet was still a thing. Meanwhile, my brother was in the living room. Feeling a bit hungry, I decided to head to the kitchen for a snack. As I walked down the hallway and past my room, I suddenly froze. There, hanging from the ceiling fan in my room, was a figure with a noose around its neck. Its head was bowed and shrouded in black. I was overwhelmed by an icy chill and couldn't physically move. I blinked repeatedly, telling myself it wasn't real. I closed my eyes, hoping that what I saw was just my imagination. But when I opened them, the figure was still there, hanging. I turned my head away, and when I looked back, it was finally gone. Still shaken and unsure of what I had just seen, I walked to the kitchen. I saw my brother in the living room and considered telling him, but he was younger, and I didn't want to scare him. Confused and terrified, I kept the sight to myself, convincing myself it was just my imagination. That same night, I faced my fears and slept in my room. Our house was small, and I shared the room with my other sister. I avoided sleeping near the ceiling fan, instead curling up close to the wall and facing it. I reassured myself that it was nothing and that I was safe, and eventually, I drifted off to sleep. The next morning, as I was groggily waking up, my mom barged into my room with a pair of scissors. Without saying much, she cut the rope I had tied to the ceiling fan's pull lever, which I had added because I was too short to reach it. That's where it was hanging from. My parents' native tongue is Vietnamese. My mom simply said one word in Vietnamese: scary. Her reaction suggested she had seen something too. For context, I live near a cemetery. I think that's why it happened. We moved out of that house eventually, and for some odd reason, I thought about it again today. Now it's just a distant memory. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Horror Time. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more videos. Have a great evening, stay safe, and good night.